Alright, this video right here is just to show you some of the things that you could possibly do. I'm just going to make it up as I go. And I'm just going to do a simple animation here. So I'm going to start with a circle, and I'm going to import a picture for a color palette. So I'm going to look up, let's see, let's use this picture. This will be my color palette, so I'm going to paste this in here at the top of the screen, so Control V, and I'll move this up here just for a color palette. And I'll change the color of this background to something right out of this picture, and I'll use that color there. Alright, and now I'm just going to make some stuff up as I go. So now I'm going to use the Marquee Selection tool right here. Shortcut key is M. You can press Shift M to cycle through the tools. I'm going to hold Shift to make a perfect circle, and I'm going to go through this rather quickly. And I just steal a color right off of there. D, I'm going to name this circle, and I'm going to convert it into a smart object so I can scale it as well as rotate it. And now what I'm going to do is, let's say, make some shapes here, just some regular rectangles. Control D, Control T, and let's do that again. I'm going to add a new layer after I rename this. Green rectangle. Let's say red rectangle. Control D, I'm going to use this same tool, and let's make a red rectangle. Okay. And what I'm going to do is convert this into a smart object so I can scale it and rotate it. And then I'll do the same thing to this. If my computer doesn't freeze, which it probably is going to do, I'm going to right click on this and convert this into a smart object. So basically what I'm doing is show you some of the things that animating in Photoshop is capable of doing. I'm not making anything in particular. So I'll do some text as well. So I'll click out here and let's type record collection. I'll just do these on individual layers, and I'll change this color to something right out of this, so that will be good. And I'll change the scale up here while the text is selected, and then just to keep it all good, I will double click here and I'll do a stroke so it has a shape on the outside, and I'll steal a color right out of this. Let's see, maybe I can use, there we go. I'll use that and change the scale here. That looks good. That's debatable. There, use that. And now what I'm going to do is copy that, Control J, and I'm going to move this down. I just press V for move, and then I'm holding the arrow key. And now with the text tool selected once again, I'm going to click inside of that word, and I'm going to change the word to collection. And since I copied that layer, it retains the same layer styles, so it's got the stroke on it. And what I'm going to do is right click on it and convert that into a smart object, as well as this layer right here. Convert to smart object. And again, that's so I can move, rotate, and scale. And let's see, we could use I could use a blue rectangle. So let's Control Shift N, blue rectangle. Press M for the Marquee tool. Go ahead and drag that out. G for the paint bucket tool, or you can go right here. And I'm going to hold Alt and steal a color right off the floor. And if that's blue, it's sort of green. Let's make it a little more blue. There we go. Alright, Control D to deselect. And one more, I believe, for good faith, a little bit thicker. And I'm going to steal a color right off the of here. So color that in. And call that off-white rectangle. And convert that into a smart object, and convert the blue rectangle into a smart object so it can rotate, scale, and move. And now I can delete this. I'll save this. I'll convert this into a smart object as well. So everything's a smart object. The background layer is locked. I'm not going to do anything to it. So what I want to do here is figure out how I'm going to position everything in the end. So that's what I'm going to set up first. And then the animation is easy. So I'm going to scale this picture up to fill the screen. This is just going to be used for texture. And I'm going to show you how to center objects. It's pretty easy. Center objects, or layers, is what I mean. So with the move tool, I'm going to select the move tool. I'm going to press Control A to select everything on that layer. And now at the top, if you hover over this button right here, it'll say align horizontal. You'll see once I click it, it aligns horizontally. And then this one right here does the opposite, align vertical. So now this is centered. And what I'm going to do is turn the opacity down on this layer. And I'm going to save that for there. And now what I'm going to do is figure out what everything else is going to look like. Let's see if I can move this green rectangle to be right here. And the red rectangle needs to go above this one. And then the off-white needs to go below the green rectangle so it looks like it's weaving in and out. And I want this animation to probably end at about 5 seconds, the whole thing, but the animation itself is going to end at 1 second. 1 second right here. So this is where I'm going to lock everything in. So I'm going to go through. And again, I didn't put any thought into this. I'm not sure if it's even going to look good. It probably won't, but I'm just showing you what this program is capable of. And let's put a stroke for good measure on this. Stroke. Let's do an orange color. And it doesn't pop out too bad. There we go. Alright, maybe we can scale all that up so it looks a little bit better. I'm going to select all the layers while holding Control T, and I think I'm going to do the same thing and center all this, but before I do that I'm going to scale it. And if you press Control T with all these layers selected and you go up here to the top, you have the width option and a height option that you can put your mouse over top of and get these arrows and then click and drag. And in order to center all this, I'm going to put this stuff momentarily inside of a folder. So with the layers that I have selected, I'm going to press Control G. This is simply to center everything, and I'm going to take it out of the folder when I'm done. So I press V again for the move tool, press Control A, and I'm going to center it here, and then center it here, and it looks like it's already been centered somehow. And press Control D to deselect, Control T, and I'm going to scale this up so it fills the screen like so. Alright, now I'm going to right click on the group and ungroup layers. I don't need that folder. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on transform, turn on opacity, and turn on style for each one of these layers. Because this is where I want it to end, and these keyframes are going to make sure that no matter what I do before this, everything is going to come back to this state. Every layer will come back to the state that it's in right now. So I'm turning on all of these. So you'll notice that when you open this up, you see transform, opacity, and style. Now I'm a little rusty on this stuff. As I go through it, I'll be able to explain that a little better. Transform is just move, opacity is opacity, and style is scale and rotation. Now I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that'll come across here as I go. And what I'm going to do now is just select these layers and then move them around. So I'm just going to take collection, move it off the screen, and you'll be able to see what I've just done. Okay, once I animate these layers, I'll be able to go in and change them up. Change the timing. What I'm going to do is make sure that I don't drag anything beyond this point. I can make stuff happen before, but after I want everything to come to as it is. So this is what I've done so far. I want the speed to be pretty similar to the speed up here. So I'm going to do that and see what it looks like by pressing spacebar. Check the play, drink some coffee. And let's go ahead and see if I can adjust the scale of this right here, this circle layer. I think I'm going to do that by changing the scale of it to be a little bit bigger right here. And then pressing enter. And it looks like that was a transform. Let's see if that took. It did. And then before it, I'm going to press Control T and then change the percentage up here of the height to 0. And change the, let's see what happens. It doesn't look like anything happened. Let's see if I can change it to 0.01. Okay, now it doesn't even look like it's there. Okay, so it should scale up and get bigger and then go back smaller. And then I can zoom in on the timeline here to change the pace of that if I want to. And I'm just going to close up this top layer. I could go through and tweak all this stuff, but for the sake of this video, I'm just showing you what's possible. And this stuff up here I'm going to keep pretty simple. I'm just going to move the transformation into place. From the top, I'm going to do the opposite. So if that one moves up, this one's going to move down, this one's going to move down. So I'm just going to stop there, go on to the green rectangle. I'll do the green rectangle last. I'll do the off-white rectangle right now. So if the one in the middle went up, the red one, these two are going to go down. So I'm going to keep these moving in the same direction. And I'll do the same with the blue rectangle, trying to keep it inside of these pink bounds so it doesn't look like it's jumping around. And then what I'll do is adjust the timing so they're exactly the same. And then I'll just stagger the layers so they're off a little bit. If you drag the whole layer, it will move the keyframes with it. So right now this is what I have if I press play. And now the last two things I'm gonna animate are the green rectangle and the picture in the background. So I'm gonna close up what I've already done. Now I'm going to go to the blue rectangle, close that up, that's been done. Okay, this picture in the background, the green rectangle, I'll do this one. Okay, so open this up, and I'll just move this to the side. So now if I play this, press play. Okay, I want that to happen kind of quick, so I'm going to drag the scrubber, the keyframe right here to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry. And bam, that looks good. For me, I'm going to close that up. And now I'm going to do this layer in the background. So I want this thing to have 0% opacity. So press Control T, change the opacity to 0, press enter, and it's going to lock in the opacity here. And then I'm going to change the opacity at 10 frames. Let's just say it goes back to 100%. So bam, 100%. So it comes in, it goes to 100%, and then it fades out over time. Okay? And I want the scale at about right here to fit inside of the screen so you can actually see what the picture is. So at 5 frames, it's going to fit the screen. So I'm going to press Control T, and I'm just going to drag these so it fits in the screen nicely. And then as time goes, it's going to fade in. So if I press play, I don't like how fast that happens. So I'm going to drag the start of the opacity change this way, and then change it so, and then see what happens. Whoops. If that ever happens, you can grab the top of this and drag the timeline until you see a blue bar at the bottom. and then it'll lock itself back in. So that's pretty basic, that's pretty simple, and I'm gonna stop there. It's a nice little animation that you can make in Photoshop, pretty easy. And if you wanted to, you could go to export and render video, and then choose where you're going to save it. For me, I'm just going to save it in here and call it, that is fine, select folder, and then click OK. Click render, and this shouldn't take any time at all to render. And as it's exporting the video, it's my coffee cup scraping against the microphone as I drink. Say good morning to Jacob and Corey. Cheers. And when this is done, I'm going to stop the video, but while this is exporting, I'm going to ramble on and just talk about basically the State of the Union. So in my address here, I'm going to talk about, okay, that's done. Now, that's it. So I'm going to stop this video, and there you go. You have it.